light for you in dark places when all other lights go out.
Hey guys, it's DCHL Devin here, and welcome to another episode of A Light in the Dark. And today, I wanted to talk to you guys about a post that happened from Nick Emx, EMX. It's on the North American Trading Group, and he was talking about how he's a graphics designer of 6 years, and he's like, hey guys, look, GW's dropping the game, let's go ahead and do a takeover of the game system. Now, I wanted to talk about this because this is actually an idea that, one, I had actually in the past, a lot of us had, and two, how some of the information is not actually accurate, and three, what this actually could be as a good idea going forward. Now, as far as the post, the reason he's doing this, he's in, I believe, Montana, judging by the thread in the post, and essentially he only has 5 players. He has 5 players playing the game. They have old source books. They don't get any new releases. How do you keep up the game? Now, let me give you guys some backstory on this. First off, he says that GW has dropped the license. This is actually not the case. GW has actually picked back up the license and are continuing to move forward with it. Now, as far as the logistical details, I do not know. However, if you want proof on this, you have Adam Trolk and Simon Grant in the GBHL forums literally posting about it. So, in fact, I believe one of the sculptors is a GBHL member, and so is one of the managers of it. So, you got to understand that this is moving forward. Forge World has already announced that it is taking over the game systems. Now, as far as a link, I don't have one at this moment, but I can try to put one in the description below as soon as I find it. Or if any of you guys know of the link, I guess, actually don't post it in the comment section because that always looks like spam. But at least like comment on it and say, hey, here's the link to this, and then put it in the link below. But regardless of that, I'll try to find it myself. But yeah, Games Workshop is not like dropping the license anytime soon. Now, why is it they are holding up the license? In my personal opinion, I think it's because New Line Cinema is obligated to make another movie by 2022, or at least so my sources say. Essentially, what it is every movie company that has a license, like you might notice Fox Studios that keeps putting out the Spider-Man and, or I'm sorry, not Spider-Man, Sony. Well, Sony's another great example. I'm going to use Marvel Universe. I think we're all comic book guys too. But Sony keeps putting out Spider-Man movies and Fox keeps putting out horrible Fantastic Four movies. And they do this in order to keep up the licenses. When they don't, properties like Daredevil and Punisher go back to Marvel. Well, this is the same with Tolkien Estate and New Line. New Line has to keep putting out movies. Otherwise, Christopher Tolkien gets them back, and they don't want that happening. Now, keep in mind, of course, you might say, oh, I wonder what new movies they're going to do, maybe the Silmarillion. No, they can't do the Silmarillion. They can only stay within the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit franchises. Those are the properties lended out to them. So no Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, or anything like that. But I don't know what they're going to do, but ultimately, my thought process is that New Line has to release another movie. If GW holds on to the properties till 2023, then they'll know for sure what they're doing with it. And if there is a new movie that comes out, they'll capitalize on it. So, with that out of the way, though, this brings up a good point. Despite the fact that GW is still technically supporting the game, we're not seeing anything. The source books have been out for a really long time. And a lot of times we have often said there's a release every single year, and we have not seen a release every single year, or at least for this final year that we've just had. There's been nothing coming out. So what does this mean for all of us? Well, for players in Montana and Argentina and random other places, they have no way to get people into this game. It is really hard. One, you don't even have the rules. Other than a couple copies of things floating around online, there's no way to get it. And so you have that problem as a big number one. How do you promote the game system if you can't get the rules? Number two, for us Hobbit leagues, we have another issue. I mean, the GBHL has already started to go into Guild Ball and Frostgrave and stuff like that. It's simply because the contents run dry. I mean, we as, like, when you look at the core of the GBHL, the core of the DCHL, and the OSBGL, we've played this game to its absolute limits. Now, the Canadian group is a bit younger, and I don't know how the German group is. I don't hear much news on them. I don't speak German. But I believe even they must feel a limit of, oh, well, I've already played this army a dozen times. So, because, we're starting to max out. And so we want new stuff. Understandable. 40K and Sigmar get new stuff all the time. So this guy has the motivation and the goals to just say, you know what, let's just do a takeover of the game. So I'm going to tell you exactly how that would work. Here's the thing. I actually had this idea back before it was announced that GW was taking the game. If you guys look in previous videos, you might hear that I had some plans, some underlying ideas. Now, I'm not going to go into how those plans exactly work, but I can tell you the general strategy of how it works in order for you to know if you want to do a takeover of the game, this is really how you can do it. Before we get into it, one idea, and this is a side idea you can do, and I've seen a couple people do it, I believe from Italy. I don't know his name, but he's releasing a Dual Door supplement, is you can create campaigns. If you create a campaign, like our Return to Kerner campaign that we're doing in Nova, if you do campaigns like that, then you can create profiles for the campaign. This is actually a fantastic start if you want to do this. You may notice, Nick, that as soon as you blasted this out on a trade forum, it was kind of met with sort of a negative response, in a sense. Not negative in the way that we didn't like it, but just, hey, we're not going to take over the game system while GW has it. And that's really the problem. GW still has it. No one wants to take profiles from anyone other than GW because they are the creators of the game. So if you want to get your profiles to be accepted by the community, you need to introduce them in a way that doesn't seem quite so invasive. So essentially doing a campaign, doing your own little campaign, that's one thing we're doing. We're making the Iron Hills Dwarves, we are making more Easterling units, we are making more Lake Town units, and we're doing this all for the campaign, the Return to Kerner campaign that we're doing. Now, these profiles are, of course, not going to be tournament legal, not going to be in any events. So you may be wondering, well, that's the intent, though. I want it to be introduced into casual play. Well, what you do after creating this campaign is, amongst your friends and those who play it, you can say, hey guys, you've done this campaign. They know that they were fake profiles along the way. They're introduced into it. They're acclimated to it. What you do is you tell them, okay, how about we just try these profiles in a regular game? See how it goes. They're already used to it. And then you start playing in a regular game, stuff like that. The real problem with your effort is it's going to hit a hard stop. In order for you to actually do these profiles, you need the tournaments, and I'm talking about the major tournaments. I'm talking about Articon, Nova, and the OSBGL GT, and the HTL, whatever their grand tournament is, and the grand tournaments. You need them to be legal in those events, and that's where you're going to hit the hard stop. This is where actually I had introduced the idea of possibly putting profiles in SBG magazine, which is what the GBHL run. Not to say that was a plan or anything, but the thing is, that is an idea. If you can get it in a recognizable source, such as SBG magazine, maybe they produce a book full of profiles, then there you go. It's a lot more recognized. This helps the community kind of ease into the concept. And we already follow what the GBHL FAQs do, so you can bet your butt that if there's an international community coming up with profiles that end up in SBG magazine, that these would show up in tournaments. The only issue with that is, as I said, Adam Troll and Simon Grant are all over the GBHL forums. So why is it that the GBHL would want to stab in the back the guys who are bringing back the game and are part of their group? That wouldn't make any sense. So of course, with the reintroduction of the game by GW, any idea or possibility of us doing something like that in like a major source such as SBG Magazine is probably lost. I don't know. I don't write SBG Magazine. You'd have to talk to Tom Harrison and Damian O'Byrne. And so the thing about that is ultimately that's the big issue. How do you get it in the major groups? Now, ultimately, I'm all up for discussion on this type of topic. There is another idea that I had where you can invent tournaments that allow these profiles in. It's just a tournament. It says right in the front, hey, look in this magazine, this website. If you do not have a website to put your information, ask the DCHL. We post information from everybody. So if you want to do a tournament and you say, hey guys, let's come up with a cool bunch of profiles and we'll make this tournament in like August. And then in August, you have them ready maybe by, let's say, July. Enough time for play testing, but enough time for people to see them. And then you host an OSBGL tournament or whatever, invite a bunch of people to it. You probably would need a little bit more of an outreach. Maybe ask Evan Woodruff to host it for you. You are in Montana after all, so you probably have some resources kind of close to you in that direction. The DCHL will help though if you would like. If you would like to try to run an event, we will work with you. This is not, of course, a guarantee. Most of our players will not travel to Montana. You will probably have to come here, but ultimately, the point is, run a tournament with these profiles in them, with them written in advance, and then you say in the tournament pack, hey, look at the DCHL website or my website. Of course, you can do Google Docs or whatever. It doesn't really matter. My website I offer is because it's a platform where you have lots of eyes. It's not really public information, but over 600 people view my site a day, which is actually kind of insane. I didn't even think we had that many people on this community like to view it every day, but it does. It's like a constant flow, about 400 to 600, 400 to 700 people a day. So anyway, though, that would be the thing. The thing is, you're gonna have to just sort of slowly introduce this idea. If you just come out with it just out the buck, like in a trading group, it's gonna be met with some resistance. And so just come out with it. We'd like to see your concepts. I mean, you say you're a graphics designer of 6 years. The easier way to do this is to actually show us. Show us an example of your work. Maybe come out with it, publish it on the OSBGL pages and on our pages, and just say, hey, here's some new profiles I created. Do all of that, and then you'll get us sort of used to it. Remember that the GBHL didn't create the GBHL podcast and expect it to become famous by saying, hey, we're going to be dedicated guys doing bat reps all the time. Support us. No, they had to actually do it. Same with SBG Magazine. It didn't take off in its initial by them broadcasting it. Well, they probably said the idea, kind of an initial concept, but I mean, ultimately, it really launches in support once the actual concept is seen. So this is my advice to you. How to get into the tournaments, like I said, kind of hard right now. But those are my best guesses. And I can tell you now, from a DCHL perspective, Nova will not be supporting, or when I say Nova, I mean not Nova the convention, but our tournaments in Nova, will not be supporting any new profiles that are non-GW related unless the GBHL also agree. Remember that the GBHL and the OSBGL come to Nova, and I can imagine that Articon is going to follow the same suit. Articon is not going to introduce a whole ton of new profiles unless hundreds of people are backing this. And so, that's pretty much how it would have to be done. Anyway, guys, hopefully that answered your questions about my thoughts on this whole thing of taking over the game system, how it could be possibly done. If you have any questions, definitely post in the comments section below, and I will definitely give my opinions on that as well. All right, see you soon.